we all come here to Madhuban, of course, because this is our unlimited home. And Baba says, welcome to your own home. Bab Dada's home. We also come here to continue with our study. And this is why every day during the day we have not only morning when Baba talks to us, but we also have classes and discussions or workshops or whatever in which we are able to study further whatever Baba has told us in the morning or through the Murlis. And it's amazing that it's a university, it's a Pathshala, no? Baba calls it as Pathshala, school, in which we study. And the subject that has been given for today, which is the subject of humility, is something that I don't think anywhere in the world they teach humility. Do they? Do they take up the subject of humility as a subject to study and to develop? There may be, of course, few religious organizations or institutions that talk about, some of these qualities. But literally to take it up as a subject for studying the self or to develop and to inculcate is something that we as Baba's students do. Not just do it as part of the study, but we do it with a lot of enthusiasm, that we want to imbibe all the qualities of Baba. And when we look at Baba, we know that he is the embodiment of humility. And so one of our inspirations to study this subject or to be more embodiment of humility is the image of Baba himself that we have in front of us. No? We want to become Bab Saman. Then one of the main subjects in which we have to present ourselves as Baba's children is the subject of humility. But of course, in the world outside, it's not something that is even recognized as a quality, something to be appreciated or something to be respected. Even unconsciously, people who are more humble, somehow people like to be with them. But not necessarily they would say, oh, I want to be like that one. They don't see it necessarily as a strength. They would see it as a weakness, no? Or something that they will lose out or they cannot get their job done if they are so much humble with someone. So the first thing that Baba does with us is he reorients, our thinking about any subject. Say, for example, we're talking about humility. Baba, first of all, tells us what exactly it is. Because if we don't understand what it is, then we will also be like others in the world, that why should I be? But sometimes, Baba gives us this example in the Murlis, that you have to bow down. And to bow down is a sign of greatness. Baba, of course, gives many examples. But in our normal way of thinking, we say, but if we bow down to someone, then that's a sign of weakness. But Baba is saying to us that it's not literally like physically bowing down to someone, but it's literally recognizing that there is something very unique and spiritual and dignified about every soul. No matter where they are, how they are, what their actions are. But they all have a speciality or they all have a uniqueness. And so what you're bowing down is not so much to someone's weakness, but you're actually bowing down to someone's greatness or to uniqueness. And the way in which Baba demonstrates that to us every morning is when he comes and says what? What does he come and say to us every morning? Namaste, right? We all hear this word in the morning every day, right? Namaste. I know it's a very commonly used word. Even if you go on the flight, Air India or whatever, it's a common greeting. If you go to any Indian gathering or meet Indian friends, they would usually greet each other with Namaste. And of course, they don't know exactly, it's usually used more as a social custom. But the original meaning of the word Namaste means that I bow to the divine in you. I'm bowing down, or I respect that which is divine in you. Now, highest on high Baba, right? The ever pure one, the almighty one, the greatest one. And every morning he comes and says Namaste to us. Now what does he say Namaste to? He says Namaste because through his saying Namaste, he is actually reminding us that we are divine beings, that we are souls, that we are his children, and so therefore also embodiments. So what I'm trying to say is that Baba has a whole different way of looking and explaining any particular virtue. So whereas in the world outside it's seen as a weakness or it's seen as something that you do just externally, but Baba tells us here that within each one he explains to us the very underlying principle behind any virtue. And the principle behind this virtue of humility is that every soul is a child of God and has inherited originally qualities of God. No matter where they are, how they are acting, no matter what their part is, but each and every one, has that divine beginning or that pure beginning. Now, when we come to understand this, we cannot but help start saying, but who am I then in comparison to anyone else? Further than that, Baba gives us the understanding of what exactly the soul is. He's saying every morning again and again, forget yourself as a body and remember that you are a point of light. And it's really a thing of practice, that as much as we practice that I am a being of light, I am a point of light, after a while, if sometimes you really sit and practice this, but if that's what I am, a point of light, then how can I think, that, how can I have any ego about anything that there is in the soul? It's a very natural consequence of the practice that we have of I, the soul, as a point of light. That automatically you feel that all the greatness is in that soul, and there's nothing that you have to show externally in order to reveal your greatness. So, in a very natural way, Baba, by explaining to us, the knowledge behind the soul, the knowledge behind the part that is ingrained in the soul, the knowledge behind how we are all connected to Baba and related to Baba in the same way as children, and we all have equal rights over Baba. And finally also Baba giving us the understanding of karma, very, very deep understanding of karma. That, if it's not that you, for your karmas, have to be paid back from other human beings or from your brothers and sisters, but as soon as you do good karma, automatically you create sanskars of that. And it's the sanskars in the soul that will actually attract the fruition of that. Sometimes, for example, we ask, or we are waiting for recognition, or we are waiting for somebody to appreciate, or we are waiting to be shown some kind of respect, If we have done a little bit extra work, you must have noticed that subtly we have this expectation that somebody will at least notice it and mention something about it. Yeah? It very rarely happens that we say, oh, of course it happens, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but oftentimes there is just this slight thought that, or somebody comes and says that, say for example, you have done something extra, and somebody comes by and notices that it's been done, and they think that it's somebody else who has done it. And so somebody else's name is mentioned, and your name is not mentioned. How do you feel? How do you feel? Of course, there are different levels of response, no? In the beginning, if we are just starting with our Brahmin life, and immediately we react and say, but wait a minute, this one didn't do it, I did it. Immediately you speak it out. And then little by little, as we get a little bit more refined, in our stage, then we notice that no, I should not react in that way or respond in that way. So you notice it that this person is not, you noticing you, or but at least you have made a note of it, mental note of it, and you still get thoughts about it sometimes. Maybe you don't get so much hurt as you did before, but it's still, the thought is there. Look, this person didn't notice me. They think that, I'm not good enough, or I couldn't have done that. And then, of course, as we grow deeper and deeper in knowledge, then, as Dadi has been saying, that even this thought, even this slightest feeling that lurks behind, of someone, or expecting someone to notice something or appreciate something that I have done, that also is a sign of little bit of ego, that I have done it, and therefore I should be rewarded for that, or I should be appreciated for that, or I should be recognized for that. So Baba is now taking us to that very, very high stage in which Baba is saying, you become like me, which means look how much Baba has done, and look how he has been defamed. Baba always mentions this, over and over, that I come, I create such a beautiful heaven, I purify the whole world for you, I make you into the masters of the world, and look how I have been defamed. They don't recognize me for what I am, what I have done, and what my true, identity is. And look, yet again, Baba's response, of course, mentions that this is what has happened in the cycle, but he doesn't say because they are doing this, or they have defamed me, or they have not, given me the position that that is owed to me, I'm not going to go next cycle. Just imagine if he were to react like this or respond like this. But he is so constant, isn't it? Knowing everything, right? That my children are like this, and they didn't remember who I am, they forgot me, and they have put me in stones and pebbles, they have made me omnipresent. He says, all of this. But what is his attitude towards us? What are his feelings for us in spite of all that? He still comes, benevolent Father. He still searches for us from different corners of the world. He still brings us in front of him, makes us belong to him. And he still makes us into masters of the world once more. So this knowledge that Baba gives us, and the example that Baba shows us in front of us, literally how he acts with us or how he behaves with us, that's the best lesson. that we can ever have to learn about this subject, I feel, of humility, because nowhere in the world you will get this practical demonstration. They can come, they can tell you, that you should be like this, or you shouldn't be like this, or, if you do good, then you will get back good, or if you do bad, it's going to hurt you, it's going to cause punishment. All of that, theoretical knowledge they can give. But who is going to give us practically the demonstration? Right? So I feel we are very, very lucky, because we are in this university or in this setting of learning about these beautiful divine qualities. And Baba himself is the teacher, not just coming and teaching and going away, but Baba himself becomes the demonstrator for us how and what it means to be humble or to be an embodiment of humility. Whereas before we used to understand that humility means that, you bow down to a certain extent that others can even step on your feet and, you just don't care about yourself. But Baba said today that, for us, he has mentioned very clearly that the very basis of humility is self-respect. Right? If we do not have the spiritual self-respect, the soul-conscious self-respect that Baba instills in us, then no matter how much we try to be, practicing humility or be humble in our interactions with others, but it will not be true humility. You can try to be that for a little bit, but it's really not a divine virtue in that respect. Yes, it's a quality, and Baba always says there are many good people in the world today that have good qualities, and you will find also many people that are perhaps even more humble than Baba's children outside, but it's still not a divine virtue, it's not a divine quality. Whereas here we are learning to inculcate divine qualities, which means that we are learning from God. We are taking our understanding from God about the soul and about the qualities of the soul. We are actually having yoga with Baba. We are having connection with Baba. We are relating to Baba, and we are imbibing qualities from God, exactly God-like. Even we will all have individually special, unique qualities, but where are they coming from? As Baba reminded us recently, nobody has, quality on their own, but everything has come as an offering or as a gift from God. So we are all learning. Baba said, no, use the word Prabhu Prasad. So even if there is humility, but we are not just saying, oh, that my personality is to be very humble. Okay, yes, that was before. Many of us or many people in the world have that humble personality, but that's not the humility we are talking about. We are talking about how to be humble like Baba, which means it starts from self-respect. It starts from that awareness of who I am. It starts from the awareness of the greatness of the soul, just by the mere fact that I am a soul and I belong to Baba as a child. That itself gives me such a strong sense of myself and self-respect. And the higher I rise in self-respect, Baba always says, the easier it is for me to also show that respect to others. And one of the signs of being humble is showing respect to someone else. It's not so much putting yourself down, but it's really showing respect to the other one. This is the main difference. That normally people will say that, you have to put yourself down, humble yourself down, and then, but for us, we raise our self-respect. And as a result of that, there is automatically a great feeling of respect for the other in front of us. And the other thing is that we all are listening to Baba's praise of us every morning. So many different ways in which Baba looks at us, gives us drishti, calls us by different titles. So the more that respect which Baba gives, we are able to imbibe that respect within the soul and really feel that Baba is speaking to me. This is who I am, that I am a world benefactor, or I am a Trikaldarshi, or, like for example, this morning Baba would have given so many, or I am somebody who is very, very merciful, or I am the Master Almighty. So whatever titles Baba is giving, the more we are able to imbibe those titles within our personality, the more there will be also the personality of being humble. Because we receive respect and recognition and appreciation from God. So what else do we need? Everything else seems like so meaningless. To be looking for any kind of recognition from anyone or appreciation from anyone, it seems almost like it's meaningless, because God, the highest on high, He has looked at us and He has recognized, and He is directly telling us what He thinks of us. So why should my thoughts go towards, asking for respect or receiving respect for anyone? So as Baba said the other day, that if there is ego, then there is, automatically there isn't the power to tolerate any kind of insult. So the opposite is also true, that as much as there is humility within the soul, no matter who says what or doesn't say anything to us, but automatically we develop the power of tolerance. So then we don't even say, oh, how can I tolerate so much insult? But it just doesn't enter the intellect that I need any kind of special treatment from anyone. So for that, though, we have to place ourselves in front of Baba again and again. That direct drishti from Baba, and the direct, why does Dadi say, for example, come and sit in the front every day? Because I think one of the things that happens if you stay in front of Baba and listen to him is that you directly feel that Baba is talking to you. You're able to imbibe, nothing is lost in the air. I don't know if you've felt it. It may be in your mind or psychological, but it definitely rings true that the more you pay attention and you imbibe Baba's words completely deep within yourself, not just as Baba is talking to all of us, but Baba talking to me directly, the more we are able to imbibe Baba's words directly, understand it and take it to heart, the more we are able to create our stage of self-respect, and the more that helps us to give respect to others and to really take the insult or any kind of other treatment that other people have. So I feel that the most important thing is Baba's personality himself, his example himself, and then the understanding and the knowledge that Baba gives of the soul. As I said, I am a tiny little spark of light. I cannot have any ego after that. So practice of being bodiless is very important. As much as I practice, I, the soul, am bodiless, and Baba is with me, and I am the child of the bodiless Father. That true recognition and experience of the self as the soul. And Baba says that it destroys the sins, but a lot of these sins are accumulated in the form of ego. When Baba says sins, what does he mean? It's in the form of these traits, the traits of ego, the traits of body consciousness. So the more I'm able to be in remembrance of the bodiless self, the soul, and the bodiless Father, Baba is saying that's the time that those sanskars of ego are automatically burnt, and you become really, really, and humility for us now, I feel, is not a special thing that I have to try to be, but it's a natural reflection and a natural consequence of the stage of soul consciousness. The more I am soul conscious, and the more I am stable, not just soul conscious just as a practice. I was soul conscious for this much time and that much time, and the rest of the time there was not that much attention. But really soul conscious as a consistent stage. Because the more consistent we are, the more these qualities will come out very naturally, will emerge very naturally from within the soul. So it's very important for us to keep that stage of soul consciousness. The other thing that helps very much, Baba said this time, not only self-respect, but also giving respect and regard. Remember, Baba talked a lot about that earlier in the Murlis, earlier in the season today. So when we talk about respect and when we talk about regard, so sometimes, I think respect is something that we all know. Intellectually we know that all the souls are, pure to begin with, or we have to have good wishes for all the souls. But this subject of regard is something that I've been thinking about also, that regard has to do more with what the person is doing. And many times it happens that what the person is doing doesn't necessarily, allow you to give regard to that person. Sometimes it's against, maybe, it's not according to your expectations, or it may not be even according to Brahmin maryadas, or, to Brahmin guidelines, or Brahmin expectations. But still Baba says you have to give regard. And that's where I feel that our greatest test is, that what do we do when we are faced in situations or, with souls that really do not, that we feel are not acting according to Baba's expectations or Brahmin expectations. What do we do at that time? And what I always remember at that time is that there are many instances in my own Brahmin life that I would have acted like that also. Right? Especially in the beginning when I come and when I don't understand fully, or when I don't have the power completely to act according to what Baba wants me to act. There have been times when I have acted like that. But it was always Baba's mercy, and it was always Baba's understanding and patience with me that has allowed me to grow, over a period of time. So if I remember that, then I would start to have regard for that soul's part at that time. That soul's part at that time is what he or she is doing. So I cannot really blame. But the fact that the soul is still connected to Baba, and is still listening to Baba, and is still making effort to whatever little extent, may not be a very good effort maker, but to whatever little extent the soul is making effort, that's what draws the regard from others. If we had totally given up and we said, I can't do this anymore, that's different also. But mostly we see that, our impatience comes with souls who are with Baba and who are not acting according to what should be, the normal guidelines. So that always has been the greatest test or the greatest challenge. And so I feel that, this is where we have to remember that, look how many souls, have been instrumental for my growth. Dadis, for example, or the seniors, or even the fellow Brahmins, whatever, but they did notice weaknesses, they did notice mistakes, but they were also very patient with me, and they still made me progress. They still gave me chances, they still gave me opportunities. Even I made mistakes, but they didn't say you're fired, right? Baba doesn't say you're fired. That's one thing he never says, right? So we don't have that system here of firing anyone, because we say that whatever little, the soul can do, let the soul have that opportunity to do. Right? Anybody has fired anyone so far? In any center? It doesn't happen, no? So we don't do that. Sometimes you wish, that we could do it. But it's not our system, this institution doesn't work like that. It gives opportunity, it gives chance, it understands there is forgiveness, and there's a lot of course, and this is why perhaps sometimes it becomes hard for us to understand and get on with each other, because we can't really say, we don't want you here anymore, or, but we can't, So at least whatever little effort that soul is making, maybe we can change the assignment, or we can create another assignment for that soul or whatever, but we can't say that, you're not supposed to be here, or, this is it for you. So I feel that that also means that we are giving space and time to that soul. And that's a big sign. I think it's a sign of humility too, in which you're saying, I'm able to accept you as you are. It's not me, because it's not me. It's Baba's yagya, it's Baba's work, it's Baba's service, and it's Baba himself who accepts you as you are. So who am I to say that I cannot accept you as you are? So to give that time and that space and that acceptance, understanding, I think is also a big part of humility. And it's, even though you recognize that there is a vast difference between what your expectations were and what the soul is, but you're able to accept that that's there. It's okay, that with time that soul will improve. So to me that is called giving regard, giving regard as and how the soul is able to play part at that time, and to be able to accommodate the soul within Baba's work. Or it could be even Lokik situation. It doesn't have to be alokik, but it could be with Lokik people too. We have these tests and testing situations of people who you have to work with. And that your job assignment, you expect a person to be like this, and the person is very far from it. And so what has to happen, of course, within certain, parameters, you have to, of course, be clear with that person that this is what the expectation is. And, of course, you have to also pay attention that the job gets done. You can't, fool around with that. But internally, you have good feelings for that one. You still give regard to that person because the person is, trying his or her best. Everyone is trying his or her best. So to me, this sense of giving regard to others, no matter where what they're doing, and that allows the soul then to improve the performance or the behavior, because you're not pressuring. You're not. That is a big limitation. When you put an expectation and you say this is what you're supposed to do right now as you start your work, then that puts pressure on souls. And so they're not able to improve, or they're not able to expand their capacity. But the more you're able to give them time and space to improve, the more they will be able to improve. And for me, I think that's a sign of giving, that space or regard to that person at that time. And I feel that that's a sign of humility or interactions with humility. The other thing I think also is that, of course, there are specialities that Baba gives us, as Baba has been saying. But the more we are able to not just use the speciality for our own self, but to use that speciality and share it with others. So this subject of sharing is a big part of humility, I think, in which you're not just saying that you can do it, but you're also allowing others to be part of it. And it's more or less like you're using that speciality to serve others. Now, service, we usually look at service as, going up there and giving knowledge and, sharing the, giving the course or giving a lecture or whatever. But sharing, in this respect, what I'm saying is that if you have a particular speciality, but to really allow, even the souls that you're working with, even our brothers and sisters, even the family that we are with, to allow everybody to be benefiting from that specialty or that quality. So it's not only going to the souls who don't have knowledge and sharing the knowledge, but it is sharing of Baba's specialty. Say, for example, it could be something very simple. It could be even something, a physical skill. Say, for example, you can do something and you feel that, you're very important in Baba's work. And so you kind of, you over a period of time, you become very egoistic about it because they can't do without you. You have to be there, to do that particular assignment. But instead of that, if there is the tendency that, okay, if I can do it, but let's see if 3 or 4 others can also watch me do it, and when they watch it, then they also are going to learn to do it, right? I'm just giving you a very gross example. It could be something physical. And then what you have done is you've shared something that Baba has gifted you with, and that through that serving or through that sharing, what you're demonstrating is your readiness to allow others also to come and take your place, which is also a sign of humility, isn't it? Because humility really means that it doesn't have to be just me, it doesn't have to be just my position, but it could be anyone in that position who can do it. But I have to open myself, and I have to create windows of opportunity for other people to be able to do it. If I say only I can do it and I keep on doing it, then I'm not, mentally, of course, we know that the person can't do it. But I think this whole attitude of allowing others to learn and to share our skills and our talents or our specialities in a very natural way, I feel that's a big, big service that is needed in the Brahmin family these days. As much as we need to do outside service, but we also need to do and empower other souls and other brothers and sisters within the family to be able to do it. Now, that's not easy, but I think a lot of it has to do with whether we have that attitude of humility in which we are ready to step out and say, you come, take this position and you do it. And a lot of times there is a mental block, as if we are going to lose the job and somebody else is going to get the job. We think in very logic way. But Baba doesn't do that with us. It will only rise you to a higher level. Once you're able to allow somebody else to come and do what you're doing, Baba is going to find something better for you to do. He's not going to leave you without a job. So it's our way of thinking, how we do things. Even in the normal run of things, in our functioning at the centers or in the field of service, but we have to, like very subtly make certain internal changes, in our attitude, in our thinking, in our feeling towards other Brahmin souls, or towards other brothers and sisters that are coming on board, because we've had plenty of opportunities, and we've had a good amount of time with Baba, and so we have to give that opportunity to others too. Even this morning, as we were saying, we are going back so full. So what do we have to do? We have to share that with others. So I feel this attitude of serving automatically brings the quality of humility. In the olden days, not just in the olden days, but even today, the people, some of the devotees, very, very good devotees, Baba's devotees, or even devotees of deities, one of the things that they feel they have to do, no matter, even if it's a very rich person, even, from very good family, but they will all make it a point to kind of give their time, like once, like an hour in the morning, or, sometime during the week or something, to go and sweep the temples, for example. Sweeping the temples, to keep the temple clean, or else, wash the pots, or, do something very mundane, very physical. And I feel that that's a big, big part of our, growing up with this quality of humility that, it's not just intellectually we have to grow, but the more we engage our physical organs in Baba's service, which we call as karmana seva, which means that we are actually, and Dadi sometimes calls it as haddi seva. Haddi seva is like, service that's kind of runs to the depth of your bones. Like you're able to use every particle of your body, like every muscle of your body, every nerve of your body in service, in Baba's service, in Baba's yagya service. So I feel that the humility is something that we don't sit in our chairs and take notes and we understand and we learn this subject of humility, but it's in our interactions and in our way of offering ourselves to Baba and not keeping ourselves reserved. For example, saying that I can only do this or I can only do that or I'm not good at that. But offering yourself 100% soul and body to whatever it is that is needed at that time in Baba's service. Like even sometimes we know that we can't do a good job, but still, as long as, I'm here, I'm present and this is what is needed, let me offer it and Baba will then fill whatever is needed to make the job right. So in other words, karmana seva, or using physical, organs in Baba's service, at least, we have to keep it a point of, at least a fraction of our time should be spent in physically serving the yagya or, offering ourselves in a physical way to the yagya. And this is why, at least I know that in some centers they have this habit, even people who are very, very busy in the other kind of service, but they will all have a day in the kitchen, for example, Even they're busy with other kinds of service, but they will still, because internally there is something to doing physical service. I know in Peace Village, for example, there are some who come there, it's very intellectual people, and there are times they will keep aside weekends just to come and do the pots. Because they say that's the time when they don't have to think anything, and when many of the sanskars can be burnt, just because they are on the pots and their hands are working, but the mind is remembering Baba. So one of the very good methods to kind of imbibe this quality of humility is, to do something very physical for Baba, and to recognize that I'm just a little finger in Baba's work. You feel that Baba is actually getting his work done, literally, through his fingers or through his hands. So that again is the greatness, because as I was saying in the path of devotion, this was one of the beliefs that you have to give your body in service also. Here, of course, Baba does not want us to do, Hatha Yoga type of sacrifice, but in a very natural and gentle way, recognizing that Baba's work involves, a lot of physical work, and to know that, I also can be a part of that. And this is why they say mind, body, and wealth, everything. So the humility. And then Baba, it was interesting that this morning, Baba talked about how humility is not a weakness, but it's actually our protection. And one of the reasons why Baba has put the mothers or the women in front, sisters in front, kanyas in front, is this particular quality of humility, because that becomes like a protection. Because when someone comes already with a sense of, I'm very good and I'm very, who are you, and, with that egoistic attitude, and the person that's responding is also responding with ego, it's going to create a big fire, right? And we all know that in the beginning that there was a lot of reaction to purity. There was a lot of reaction to the principles of purity that Baba wanted us to observe, right? And if it was not for putting the sisters' energy, or that energy of humility and humbleness and sweetness and patience, there would have been big, big, fires. But we know many, many wonderful stories of how even the souls who came with very, very negative attitudes, very antagonistic, attitudes, they all melted because of this quality of humility. And to this day, I feel that Baba's work is able to continue because of these qualities. And I'm not saying necessarily it has to be sisters, but across the board, whoever is an instrument for whatever. But if we are not able to imbibe this quality of humility, even it looks like at the moment, you're losing out. But in the long run, understanding that it's not really losing. Baba says always that sometimes it looks like you're losing, but you're really winning Baba's heart. Many times he has said that bowing down or losing for you is not really losing, but you're actually conquering Baba's heart. So to always remember that whenever I'm practicing principles and practicing qualities and divine virtues, and it's not being appreciated in a gross way, but I have to bring Baba in front of me immediately, and I have to remind myself that this is Baba's Srimad. I'm doing things the way Baba wants to be done. And immediately you will feel the power, you will feel the strength, and you'll feel Baba's blessings. Yesterday also I think we were remembering how when we change our mental attitude, immediately Baba is there for you. It becomes like a blessing for you. So to understand, so why I'm saying is because, we all want to be like Baba, but in the middle of that heated argument, sometimes it's very difficult to remember, what I have to do. Remember that I have to do things according to what Baba wants me to do or what will please Baba's heart. So as I was saying in the beginning, the reason why we are all learning and, inculcating these virtues, one, of course, we know that it will make us perfect, but most importantly, we know that we are, this is what pleases Baba. This is what Baba wants. And it's out of our love for Baba that we are inculcating divine virtues. And it's because we have seen him in action, we have seen these virtues that he himself practices, not just practices, but he is. And that's been our inspiration, and that's why we are on this path. If we had not recognized Baba, if we just want to elevate our life, and there are people like that, they will say, oh, you all do very good things, you all talk about very good things, and I like certain aspects, and they will come and they will go. But for us who are with Baba and will be with Baba till the end, our inspiration is much greater. It's not just, a better way of life or better way of doing things, but we want to be like Baba. We know who God is, what he is, how he acts when he comes into the body. And we want to be exactly like him. And we want to reveal him to the world through our activities, through our behavior, through our life. That is our inspiration. So we should never forget that is our uniqueness. And so not to compare it with anybody else who is also trying to be a better person. Because there are other groups, there are people, even amongst us there would be certain category which will just, will come here just to kind of, okay, I like this virtue, I like this quality, I like this quality. But we are not doing things like that. Our main thing is that we have recognized Baba. And we have recognized also the truth that Baba has revealed to us. The highest character that we had as human beings. The highest divinity that we had. So we have identified with that. And that's what is our inspiration in our Brahmin life, to continue, with. And this is why I was, even there will be many, many situations. In other words, the faster you go, the higher you rise, the more there will be the test. Like this morning's blessing was that even others will come and try to test your weakness. They'll try to find out there must be some weakness or the other. Especially if you're doing very good, and if someone comes along and is making very good progress, fast progress, especially they're coming in the end, last so fast, no, Baba says. So, of course, there will always be few things that they don't do right, but people can try to make a big deal of it, and try to blow up the weakness. But Baba is saying that even at that time, the protection that you have to resort to is the protection of your shield of humility. Because if you try to say, to react and say, but you're also like this, and you're also like this, and this is not the way that's not what I meant. As soon as you start to protect yourself through other means, there will be the vicious cycle. They will try to prove more and more your weakness. But Baba is saying today that no, be very, very humble. In other words, accept yourself, accept what others have to offer, even if there are corrections, even if they're not saying it in the right way, but accept it, because that's what humility is, So nobody can really hurt you. If they're saying something and you say, okay, there's no second step, the argument doesn't go on, the discussion doesn't go on. You put an end to that, and then you say, I accept whatever is my part. But you still keep your self-respect. You still know who you are in front of Baba's eyes. So you don't have to be affected. So that really, truly is our shield, that we have to use more and more and that comes from that being the embodiment of truth. That as much as I have recognized the truth about myself, as much as I'm stable in that soul-conscious stage of truth, I do not have to be affected by anyone's pointing out weakness. And yes, understanding that it is an effort-making life, and I still have lots of things to learn. Dadi always says that, till the end, the last breath, we will always have things to learn. Even Dadi Janki, I've heard her, she will turn to us and say, but tell me what more I can do. Tell me in what I can improve. Can you imagine? She has to ask one of us that, what more she can do, or what do you notice that it could be a little bit different, or it could be changed. And that really melts your heart, isn't it? For someone of that caliber to come to us and say, but what do you think of this, or what do you think of this? So here you feel that, our examples in front that we have, one of course is Baba, but also the Dadis that he has prepared for us, their humility, how they interact with each other. Even they all have their own speciality, each one, Dadi Gulzar, Dadi Janki, Dadiji, but how much they give credit to each other. Dadi Janki is always sharing examples of their interactions amongst themselves. So understanding that, yes, we will all have our own speciality or uniqueness, but the other one is not any less. And so we have to recognize, and we have to put that one in front always, because for us, the Maha Mantra is that the more you put the other one in the front, the more you go ahead of that one. Can you understand this account? How, in a physical way, it doesn't work. If you put somebody in front, then that person goes in the front. But for Baba, he's made us understand this very deep principle, that you allow others to go in front, and what happens to you? You go ahead of that one even. You go even further than that one. So somehow or the other we have to get this principle right. So because if we understand that, we will not hesitate before putting someone in the front. You first. Baba always says, you first, you first. So even you're saying you first, but you, the one who is saying you first, is actually gone ahead of that person already. And it's an amazing thing, a very, very beautiful principle that Baba, tells us, or reminds us of, that this is our means of self-progress. The more humility there is in our personality, the more our interactions are based on that self-respect and giving respect, the more we are able to progress, without any labor. Om Shanti.